Hello friends and welcome to Sunwit Session 1. Where we last left off, we had just finished our boy Gideon's character sheet. Although I said we were done, I lied. And there are some things we must go over before we start properly. But until then, let's start with a warning. Sungrim is a game of personal psychological horror. If you'd watched Session 0, you will know what kinds of themes to expect when we filled out Gideon's character sheet. As a reminder, these themes are violence, emotional distress, survivor's guilt, mass murder, mental and physical torture, and suicide. If any of these themes are not something you're willing to face with me and Gideon, I suggest you watch something else. Now, thank you for your patience and let's get into it. Gideon stepped back from the control panel of the side. From the viewport ahead, he could see another closing rapidly. Alarms and computerized voices started blaring warnings, but Gideon tuned them out. He had never been so sure of a course of action in his life. Gideon stood there, white-knuckling his cane. Everything in his life had led to this moment. Then why did his heart falter? His eyes began to water, tears slowly trickled down his face. He wiped them on his mother's leather jacket. Stepping forwards, he turned on the side-wide communication and began to speak. Fellow members of Side 7829, this announcement is to inform you that we are on a collision course with Side 12973, and I will not be changing course. Too long has the culture war raged. Too long has the collateral damage gone unaddressed. Too long has the state of affairs only brought inequality, oppression, and violence. Gideon stops for a moment. He hears banging and muffled shouts on the sealed metal door behind him. The side is now only a handful of seconds from impact. So I ask you, all that hear, shake off the social domination of the subcultures. If they want violence, give them too much that they choke on it. Tears flood from Gideon's eyes. He can only make out vague shapes of fire and explosions. Glass and debris fly into the room from the viewing port, slamming into Gideon. Sharp pain runs through him. He closes his eyes. For a split second, his single thought is all he is. I don't want to die. Okay, before we go any further, we need to talk about what Gideon's character sheet is missing. As we said, this is the point that Gideon becomes a void drifter. So what does that get him? First of all, we have to determine what kind of void drifter Gideon is. I think a bad emotion drifter fits Gideon's backstory. With this trait, Gideon can once per rest, or once per game, cast a void walk spell at level 1. The spell is cast automatically, cannot be countered, and he also gains +2 to his soul stat for willpower checks when we need to take them. Plus Gideon gets 2 extra traits. He gains the determination trait and the void sense trait. First, let's do the void sense trait. Whenever you enter the void for the first time, you gain it. Then whenever you are in a void space and something enters it from the void, you are notified by one of your senses. This is unmistakable from anything else. So we have to choose what Gideon's sense is. I think I have a good idea, and I'm sorry to Gideon, but he is to live with the actions he's taken. Let's make his void sense that he hears the dying screams of all of the people that died in the side collision. It's something he will have to live with, and getting a physical reminder of his actions every once in a while will add to his stress. The determination trait allows Gideon to go into minus hit points, but must make a willpower check every time he takes damage. If he fails, he dies. And finally, he gets 1 free freelance trait. I'm going to go with Overkill, as I think it fits the way that Gideon takes out his warp justice quite well. So we are going to send Gideon to the void. This happens just after the two sides collide, so let's put Gideon at half health. The pain does not subside. Gideon opens his eyes. He sees a sight that he has never seen before. Large blue hexagons stacked equidistant glow dimly in total endless nothing. Gideon looks at his hands. He rests on what feels like cool glass, catching the light from the hexagons. Pushing up, he is now on his knees. Low at first, in the distance he hears thousands of voices crying out. He cannot catch a single word, only the ever-increasing volume of chaotic voices drowning out even his own thoughts. He cries out for it to stop. As quickly as they came, they subside. Gideon stands on the walkway around the base of one of the hexagons. He feels an odd sensation in his extremities. He is alive. At least he thinks he is. The pain he feels informs his judgment. But where is he? Gideon gains a trauma point from seeing things that normal people should not. Gideon stumbles forward. Looking around, not much changes. There is no sign of people. It's quiet. Deathly so. Only Gideon's steps and pained grunts produce noise. There is not even the slightest echo, which unconsciously disturbs him. The odd sensation in his extremities progresses to pins and needles. Gideon loses 1 HP. He moves forwards, unsure of where to go. He makes it to the closest hexagon and inspects its surface. It illuminates from some internal light. That is for certain. And the light seems to swirl and move like bio-illuminated liquid in another medium. He rests his palm of his hand on the exterior, leaning on it for support. It feels like cool glass, just like the walkway, but in the blink it is not there. Gideon tumbles inside the hexagon. Blue hues speed past him. Okay, I'm going to go over how I create a void space. We have some things we can fill in already. We know this void space that Gideon has just gone into is in the core section and is probably controlled by the Drifter Council. But after that, we need to make some choices. Let's start with the setting. I'm going to use a random number generator to help me choose. There is a list of different settings in the core rules that I'm going to use. I got a 20, which is post-apocalypse. That's not much to go off of by itself, so let's roll again. I've got a 23, which is medieval. Okay, now let's move on to the theme of the void space. I'll use the random number generator. I've got a 28. Race to the finish. And let's roll what type of tone the void space will have. 7. Helplessness. Okay, let's put that all together. A post-apocalyptic medieval setting with themes of race to the finish and a tone of helplessness. Let's use the technologic level to find out how far this void space has fallen. I got a 6, so modern. And finally, what kind of danger we can expect. Critical. I had a story that I think might fit this void space quite well. Unfortunately for our boy Gideon, he happened in just at the wrong time. The idea came from back in high school. I had run a World of Darkness roleplay for my friend group. And at the time, some of us really enjoyed the Metro 2033 game. So I come up with a setting that would give the same feel, taking inspiration from Metro 2033 and Riddick. The idea is that solar storms have stripped the atmosphere and have damaged electronic infrastructure, sending them back to the medieval age, with some exceptions, like weapons for example, and forced people to live underground any way they could, like subways, storm drains, catacombs, underground bunkers. The atmosphere is not completely stripped, but to go to the surface you'll need some form of oxygen tank and breathing apparatus. but new solar storms would happen and could catch you out on the surface. Water would be scarce, it would not rain, and the sun evaporated the oceans. Creatures would appear with the solar storms. Dog-like creatures with massive mouths consume any flesh they can get and travel in huge packs. Okay, this is a cool idea. I'm going to go. That is where we're going to leave it for today. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it and you gained some inspiration and want to try Sungrim for yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Links to the socials and the core rules are in the description. Goodbye and have a wonderful day.